There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
Welcome back to Max Mike Movies and our series, Oh No, a Giant Monster! This week, we have a very special treat for you. We have a guest, the star of this week's movie, the Blob itself! Yeah! Blob, it's great to have you here. Okay, well, let's get to it. What was Steve McQueen like on set? I hear he was the consummate professional. Right. So there is a rumor that you did an uncredited song cameo in the movie's theme song and that you were the unofficial sixth Blob in the band. Come on, come clean. Damn it, I knew this would happen.
Are you well?
I know you don't have a mouth or any vocal apparatus, but your agent assured me this wouldn't be a problem. God! You'd think I'd learned my lesson with Godzilla.
I don't think you could learn anything.
Fine, just go. Hey, no, you don't get to dissolve my leg. You didn't answer any of my questions. Read your contract. You'll take your 12 dozen boxes of bumpy pucks and be grateful. Mike, folks, I am so sorry. I'm your host, Max. Never skip the pre-interview again, Levine. And over there, shaking his head sadly, is Mike. We should have got the brain from planet Aris loose. My bad, Mike.
I couldn't. We accidentally cut the string.
Yeah, I know that was a problem. And that guy is such a diva. Oh, man.
The brain from planet Aris.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it, folks, count yourself lucky.
Yep, but before we get to any blobs or brains, now we have neither in the studio, we have our
poll question.
We asked you, what's your favorite animated movie? Brian Mundo said, oh, so many. Okay, that's probably not how he meant it.
No.
We're like, oh, so many. The original Aladdin is definitely one of my tops. And Kubo counts as an animated, right? Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? What else would you call it?
Animated.
Yeah. Aaron Perez says Lion King. It's perfect. Story and music.
Yeah, I had to ask him to be sure which one, and he did mean the original one. I like how you assumed it was that because you couldn't imagine.
What else could it? Because that's the only one. Nothing else happened.
You never know.
Nick Hoffman says, ooh, rich territory for sure. I've managed to see the original Fantasia in theater 10 times, including its original format at the Cinemadrome. It's just gorgeous. Yeah. Yes, it is.
I don't know if there's actually some amazing fluid animation that often pops up here and there from Eastern Europe. But as an actual feature, I honestly don't know if technically the animation has been superseded since then. And heck, it was only 85 years ago.
That's all? Yeah.
That's all.
Well, they'll get around to it.
Poor Dave.
Submits, well, he actually gave us a YouTube link to his apparent favorite, which is, of course, Thank You, Mask Man.
Oh, Thank You, Mask Man.
Which is an animated version. Thank You, Mask Man. Thank You, Mask Man. I like that. It's a Lenny Bruce routine that someone animated. I'm pretty sure he was kidding, because he goes on to say, there are too many to count. If I had to pick one, it's hard to beat Nausicaa, because as it's so beautiful, and I like the fact that Ghibli has succeeded worldwide without compromising the Japanese sense of plotting, pace, and drama. Yep, can't argue with you there. It's an interesting choice of the Studio Ghibli ones. It's not as well known, I think, as a lot of the others.
I hear it's Ghibli. It's like the GIF thing.
Ghibli?
That's like what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. If anybody wants to say definitively, maybe Dave, let us know. But I've heard
is that right?
Whenever I hear it spoken about,
Ghibli.
And it's somebody in Japan or whatever, they say Ghibli. Don't know. I don't know what it refers to. They started off pretty strong, and if I remember correctly, it's based on a manga that Miyazaki himself actually drew. And it's very, very pretty. It's a very pretty comic. Cool. But they, obviously Studio Ghibli, however one says it, is gone on and done tons of other things. And I'll be amazed if we don't get
Studio Bob.
It is not Studio Bob.
It should be.
You should be. So Bob,
What does that mean?
Is it?
I should be Studio Bob.
Yes. I don't know, but I'd be a bit surprised if we don't get at least one more of their films in this list. But thank you, Dave.
Very likely. Harry McCracken, award-winning journalist and cousin of Phil, says Pinocchio.
Phil.
Say the whole name.
Phil McCracken.
Yeah.
Oh, dear gods. You're awful. You
said
are
it.
So awful. What's even worse is that I didn't get it. Shut up.
Sorry, Harry. I know you must have been getting that for probably forever.
That's okay. I'm sure he doesn't listen to the show.
I'm sure. But Harry says Pinocchio. One of the greatest movies ever made. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume he means the Disney one and not the Guillermo del Toro or the Pauly Shore.
I heard the Guillermo del Toro. I cannot say that name. Guillermo, whatever. Del Toro. I heard Del Toro's film was actually pretty interesting. I tried to watch it, but
I hear it's very interesting, but very dark.
Yeah, I couldn't get through it. But
about trouble with his name. I love the story. Apparently, the daughter of one of the actors he was working with at some point couldn't say his name, so he let her call him Totoro.
Okay.
Because that was her. Yeah, she loved Ghibli movies. Or Ghibli, or what have you. Jamie Kleinert says, I can narrow it down to 3. The Last Unicorn. Oh, because every time I come back to it, I find something new in the story. This is not the last time we'll hear about that one.
Oh.
Kubo and the Two Strings. Music, magic, and stop motion. What is there not to like?
Yeah.
Not a thing.
Nope.
And as you were predicting, another Studio
G.
Bob. Studio G. Studio Bob, Princess Mononoke. Beautiful, wild, sad, and hopeful all in one. Yep. And we do appreciate him taking time away from his busy Tatum work. Richard Tatum says, tough one. Spirited Away, probably. Another Studio Bob. Yep. But then I think The Iron Giant. Oh, well.
Have we got a show for you?
Both films made me weep openly by the end. But then I saw Robot Dreams last year and thought it was spectacular. I keep forgetting that one, but that is really remarkable.
I haven't seen it.
Keith Wright says The Incredibles. Obviously, he's referring to us.
No.
I'm down for anything. I'm down for anything superhero related. The story was great too. Sometimes you forget that your family is the thing that keeps you present. I'm not crying, you're crying. Adam Selewski returns now with an epic post.
Selewski.
The Last Unicorn. Oh, Selewski.
I know, that's it. There's a W, that's how he pronounces it.
Oh, okay. I will forget that almost immediately because I just do.
Just say Bob.
The Last Unicorn, 1982, would be my vote.
Oh.
The plot, closely based on Peter S. Beagle's 1968 seminal novel of the same name, concerns a unicorn voiced by Mia Farrow, who, surprised to learn she's the last of her species in the world, goes on a quest to find out what has happened to others of her kind. The unicorn encounters a traveling fair magician who longs to become an actual wizard, and together they face a series of adventures. The story features a series of encounters with characters that help the story explore the implications of being immortal in all its varieties, the meaning of love, and of following one's dreams no matter the cost. The story is particularly fascinating in its exploration of the implications for an immortal being, like a unicorn, falling in love with a mortal. Imagine having the knowledge that you will witness your love wither and die and then remember them, and the ultimate futility of that love for all eternity. You listening, Arwen? It's also dark and melancholy and hopeful and alive. Additional sentiments that haunt me and have inspired me in my own writing include an old hag not fretting about her impending death by an immortal harpy, for it will mean the harpy will remember her, and thus the hag will also live forever. So there's my immortality, eh? Angela Lansbury, awesome.
Oh.
A middle-aged woman, upon seeing the unicorn for the first time, reacting with intense anger, for she has given up all hope of believing in magic, as enraged to find magic is real long past her own young maidenhood. How dare you come to me now, when I am this? A carnival trickster looking for real magic, and upon attaining it, struggle to control it. Magic, do as you will. Beautifully animated, the scenes with the Red Bull of Fire are particularly wonderful. A stellar vocal cast, Alan Arkin, Christopher Lee, Angela Lansbury, Tammy Grimes, and Jeff Bridges. and again, Mia Farrow, and some of the most amazing dialogue I've ever heard. It's a crime that it did not get an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. That's showbiz. The ending, ambiguous about how we should feel about the end state of the characters, is particularly bold. A story filled with genuine sweetness and mystery, I vote that The Last Unicorn should be remembered in any list of great animated films. Unicorns are in the world again, says the titular character as the man she loves rides away forever into the sunset. No sorrow will live in me as long as that joy, save one, and I thank you for that too.
Huh.
Wow. That is a very cool movie.
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I've never seen it. I can hear it now. Stop that.
That was a massive spit take.
It's disgusting.
Never saw it? Wow.
No, he's still giving me crap about not having seen Pretty Woman. So,
well, folks, I see we have the tie Mike to a chair and make him watch things series coming up. With clothespins holding his eyes open.
But it does sound remarkably sophisticated for a kid's cartoon. Maybe it's...
It is surprisingly.
Is there a great song like Where There's a Whip, There's a Way? Is that in there?
No, there is not. Although there are a couple of songs. It's Walking Man's Road and a couple of others. And honestly, the animation, I don't know if it was Rankin Bass, but it looks a lot like them.
Oh, neat. Thanks, Adam.
I also like the fact that the magician's name is Schmendrick.
Okay.
And from the lands of distant beyond time and space, where unicorns still roam the snowy waste ridden by penguins, Canada, Vince says, my favorite animated film has to be Disney's Pinocchio.
Oh.
Thank you for specifying, by the way. I love the adaptation, and the animation is still amazing. He could have met Pinocchio in outer space.
Oh,
I watch it every year at some point.
Wow.
I saw the original... Here's a deeper.
Here's the sound of Max dragging that out of his ass.
Ow! Oh, pointy! I saw the original background paintings of the opening shot, which was painted in a way to make it look like the camera was going from above the rooftops to street level and then moving toward Geppetto's workshop in the hopping movement of Jiminy Cricket, all in parallax.
Yeah.
All in 2D with watercolor paintings. Yep. Dang.
Yeah.
Plus, the whale at the end is just beyond anything else.
Monstro.
Yeah, Monstro is frigging terrifying, but he's also so elemental. He looks like he's a part of the ocean.
Well, I think you and I actually think, yeah, that part's scary, but there's another part of that film that freaks us both out, and that is when the kids turn into donkeys.
Oh, God, Monstro after that, I'm sorry, that was nothing. When I was a kid, I was almost screaming when that whole sequence on Pleasure Island when they turn into donkeys and one of them was crying for his mother.
Well, and then the whips come out.
Damn you, Disney. Ah!
That's like, yeah, you know that you had that theory, or you said you read this theory somewhere once that Disney actually hated kids. That film might
be my theory only. Yep, I think there was. I don't think he hated them entirely. I think there was part of him deep down that would come out every so often.
Yeah, the kind that wants to turn them into donkeys and whip them. So.
Yes, whip them.
Oh, do you feel better now? Well, here's a whale.
Yep. Now, you know what? I'm going to shoot an innocent deer's mom.
And then wait till
mom.
I'll be dead, but wait till I invent Pixar. Oh boy, then I'm going after the parents.
Yeah. Bring plenty of Kleenex.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite little animated character from our hotline. Doris Hempelmeyer.
Hello, Mike Max Movies. Hi, Max. This is Doris Hempelmeyer here to answer your poll question, which this week happens to be, what is your favorite animated movie? What a great question. Bet it was Max's. Anyway, the answer to the question could be, there's hundreds of them, aren't they? But the ones that I think I'll put in this is, the first one is Kubo and the Two Strings. It's stop motion animation, but that still makes it an animated movie. And everything about that movie is wonderful. From the artistry of the stop motion to the storyline, everything is wonderful about that movie. I just love it. The other one I'm going to throw out there is Howl's Moving Castle. It's the only time I've ever had a crush on a cartoon character. Sorry, Max. It was just, because he's not real, so it's not a real thing. Your crush, on the other hand, that's real. Anyway, those are my answers. I look forward to hearing you next week. Bye.
Look at that. We got another one both for Kubo and for Howl's Moving Castle. So another of Studio Bob.
Yeah. I guess Studio Bob comes out on top. Quit your job for a Bob.
Thank you, my little frozen fish stick.
Ugh. Guess that means her love is breaded. I don't know what that means, but it's nasty.
You know it is.
Yuck.
You know it is. What about you, Mike? What is your... Now, personally, I thought this was an unfair question for both of us. What's your favorite animated movie?
There's not going to be one, but I'll keep it to 2.
I didn't think so.
I'll keep it to 2.
Okay.
And they're actually both fairly recent. Not that I don't like classic animation. I do love classic animation. But I think the 2 films that have probably touched me the most, one of them is Kubo and the Two Strings. I think Kubo and the Two Strings is hauntingly beautiful. It is just an amazingly... I can't even describe how beautiful I think that film is, but it does make me cry. And the ending is both uplifting and sad at the same time. And the rendition of George Harrison's While This Guitar Gently Weeps is so appropriate, and it's so good. And it's there's literally not a single frame I would want them to change either for the better or for the worse in that film. I love Kubo and the Two Strings. But I also
see our entire episode on it and see the movie.
Yeah, by all means. If you have not, I know Leica does not get a lot of press. It doesn't get a lot of accolades. They try. They're actually going to be re-releasing. Is it Box Troll? No, it's going to be Paranorman.
I thought
Paranorman is a lot better film than I thought it was going to be, and there's a surprise character twist near the end that I was just like, wait, what did he just say? But I'm going to try and go see that again when it gets released sometime this October.
It's worth it.
Yeah, but the other one, Coco. I really love Coco. That's a great one. I love the introduction to the Mexican culture. I love the kids singing. Usually that's sort of like a big no-no. I love the story about his grandmother and the whole family aspect of it. I like the way it looks. I love Coco. So, but how about you, Max? Can you narrow it down to 6 or 7 dozen or?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the number 1 spot is Pinocchio in Outer Space.
I mean, I don't think I've even ever seen that.
No, I've never seen it. I don't know if it's possible to see it. I saw an internet review about it not that long ago, and it looks just as horrendous as anyone would ever imagine. I think my all-time favorite, just in terms of sheer artistry, is Fantasia. I think it's just I love the fusion of the music and the animation.
Yeah.
People have tried to do the same thing. They've had some success. Some of them are pretty good. I didn't really think much of Fantasia 2000.
No.
Although I do kind of like the
is it Rhapsody in Blue?
Hirschfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one I like.
That's the only section I can remember from that is the Hirschfeld one.
And there are a lot of the older Pixar movies I really like. Incredibles is terrific.
It is.
Toy Story is wonderful. I think Finding Nemo was the first one of theirs that made me cry.
Yeah.
You bastards.
Max, you don't speak whale. Hello. I died in the theater. I totally just died when she did that.
I thought I was going to hurt myself. It was so funny.
Yeah, and I don't even know why, but, she just does this thing, and it just really made me laugh. But what also makes me laugh is everyone's answers, so thank you for your answers.
Yes, those were terrific. Thank you so much. But we have another one, more or less based on this week's movie.
Really?
What is your favorite monster or monster movie-related song? And by the way, Monster Mash is a perfectly acceptable answer.
I mean, how many are there? That's the problem.
There are a surprising number. I mean, I would also count Save the Earth from Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
I think you predicted Vince's answer. Save the Earth.
I think Save the Earth. Yep.
So awful.
But we want to hear your answers, and at the end of the show, we'll tell you how to answer them just on the off chance you don't remember. Or perhaps the Blob sucked the knowledge out of your head. And speaking of the Blob...
The facts.
Budget. That's actually not as easy to come across.
Oh.
The producer, Jack Harris, claimed the film cost $240,000.
Okay.
Years later, the director, the famous Irvin S. Yeworth Jr., who I'm sure you all know. Jr. Yep.
Well, he was nothing that his father was, but yeah.
He said the actual cost was only $120,000. Other sources say it was down around $110,000. How much did it make? $4 million. Yeah, it was a huge success.
Well, now we know why it's in the Criterion Collection.
And its first year alone, it made $1 million.
Dear gods, really? Okay.
Yeah, and because it was so successful, you know what happened? There's a sequel.
There is?
Beware the Blob.
Oh, I thought that was the same movie.
No. Well, in a way it is, except it didn't come out until 1972, 14 years later.
Yeah, it didn't work, did it?
It was directed by, get this, Larry Hagman.
Oh.
Yep.
Ow, that hurts.
That Larry Hagman. J.R. Major Nelson. Yep.
No. Major Nelson was... Oh, Larry Hagman. I was thinking Larry Storch for some reason.
No.
Larry Hagman. Okay.
No. Yes. Larry Hagman.
Why?
And it was done more as a horror comedy. It was a major flop.
A homedy.
And yet... A homedy. Yep. More of a flomedy. As Mike points out, this is... member of the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Also, the film's, and I wish I was kidding, title song. Yes, the movie has a title song. Beware of the Blob hit the charts in this country.
Yeah.
It was a nationwide hit.
Beware of the blob, it leaps and creeps and slides and glides across the floor, right through your door and all around the walls. A splotch, a blotch, be careful of the blob. That's it. That's the entire song. They just repeat that.
Yeah. Honestly, it sounds like the opening to a sitcom.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
The actual blob was a mixture of red dye and silicone, has never dried out.
Wait, what?
And is still kept in the original 5-gallon pail in which it was shipped to the production company in 1958 from, put on your history hats, Union Carbide.
What?
Yes, they made the Blob. Union Carbide. I'm sure that's the only thing they'll ever be remembered for.
So you're telling me that poor Odo has been sealed in a bucket for whatever, how many, 80, 70 years?
Yep. It was put on display over the years as part of the annual, and this is also real, Blob Fest.
Of course there is.
Held over a 3-day period each summer in Phoenixville, PA, which provided a number of the shooting locales for the film.
Oh.
In addition to displaying the blob and miniatures used in the shooting, the event features a reenactment of the famous scene in which panicked theatergoers rush to exit the town's still functioning Colonial Theater.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing you want in a movie is the idea that you should suddenly run out of a theater. That's a... Well, I guess they already paid their tickets, so it doesn't really matter.
True. Steve McQueen, playing a high school student, is actually 28 years old.
No, he's 17. Movie. They say so in the movie. I also need to make a correction here. It's Stephen McQueen in this film.
Oh, excuse me. This is right. This is the last movie where he shows up as Stephen McQueen.
Yeah, Stephen. That's his serious work. Then he's less serious. He's Steve.
Stephen constantly smoked cigarettes during filming, even though he's never shown smoking in the movie. At around 49 minutes, and I checked, this is true, smoke can be seen coming up behind him because he's holding a cigarette behind his back.
I had a note that was like, where's that smoke coming from?
Yeah. For the diner scene, a photograph of the building was put on a gyroscopically operated table onto which the camera had been mounted. The table was shaken and the blob rolled off. When the film negative was printed in reverse, it appears to be oozing over the building.
Oh.
It's fairly clever.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
The Colonial Theater sequence shows a poster for a film titled The Vampire and the Robot. Mike, what's the actual poster for?
Forbidden Planet.
Yes, it is.
I have that in my notes too. It's like, why did they oh, because it's from MGM, and this very much isn't, and we'll definitely be getting back to that.
Yeah. The weird-ass movie they're showing in the theater, the spooky picture, is a real movie. It wasn't just created for the film. It's an actual movie released in 1955 called Dementia.
Yeah.
The scenes shown are the recut version titled Daughter of Horror, which has narration added. Did you recognize the voice?
I didn't. It wasn't Paul Frees, was it?
Nope.
God, Ed McMahon.
You are incorrect. It was Ed McMahon. Yep.
Well, he wasn't busy.
Before the Blob attacks the movie theater, Stephen and Janie are standing in front of the theater. Across the street, the dark windows and sign of the Bootery Shoe Store can be seen. The owner of this actual store, Meyer Schusterman, was working there at night, saw the filming, and decided it would be good promotion. So later, when the crowd's running out of the theater, the windows of the store are brightly lit and the sales signs are illuminated.
I wonder if it helped. Run over here for great savings.
Yep. The old man's cabin and the Traitor were filmed on a soundstage. 2 versions of the cabin were built. One was full-size for the actors to use. The second version was only about 3 feet high and was used in the background of wide shots to create a false perspective. Mr. Stephen McQueen was offered either $2,500 or 10% of the profits to do this movie. He took the $2,500 because they didn't think the movie would make that much.
I mean, to be fair, $4 million for a B film, or actually probably any film in 1950, whatever. Whew.
Yeah.
Oops. You should have gone and found your friend Donald Sutherland and cued him in on that.
This movie was reportedly inspired by the discovery of star jelly in Pennsylvania in 1950, when 4 Philadelphia policemen reported the discovery of a, quote, domed disc of quivering jelly 6 feet in diameter, 1 foot thick at the center and an inch or 2 near the edge. When they tried to pick it up, it dissolved into an, quote, odorless, sticky scum and was thought to be some kind of industrial discharge. No, it was a slime mold.
Oh. Ugh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
In an attempt to profit from Stephen McQueen's success in The Towering Inferno, the film was re-released in various countries in the 1970s, falsely promoted as an Irwin Allen-style disaster movie.
Well, I think it's fair to say that there's a disaster involved in the film, but, well, is it the one on the screen? Well, we'll get to that later, won't we?
Steve McQueen so disliked this movie that for many years he just wouldn't talk about it at all. Wouldn't say a word. Probably also about all the money he lost.
Well, you know, let's see, 10%, huh?
Yeah.
$400,000. Yeah, I'd be mad about that.
I'm pretty sure that's more than $2,500, but I'd need a calculator. You mentioned we were going to come back to the song. Well, here's the title song. The Blob was co-written by the then unknown, as I'm told he's mildly well-known now, Burt Bacharach, and is on his album, Look of Love, the Burt Bacharach Collection, because how would you not want that credited?
Why not?
Paramount tapped Bacharach and Mac David, brother of Bacharach's usual writing partner, Hal David. Hey, he's got the same name, he must be good. To come up with a non-threatening theme that would prevent the faint of heart from going into nostril-flaring terror during the opening credits.
I'm sorry, was there a TM there that you didn't voice? Nostril-flaring terror?
It's hard to pronounce, yeah. Together they come up with the Blob, a goofy musical creature that's 1 part temptation to 2 parts tequila.
Okay, sure.
Session singer Bernie Nee, or maybe it's Knee, it's with the K's in there,
Nee?
does the champagne cork popping honors by pulling his finger out of his cheek 7 times.
Like that?
The popular title song was used, over the opening credits and was credited to the 5 Blobs.
Okay.
There's only one Blob singing, that's Nee.
You?
The title song became a nationwide hit. Only Ralph Carmichael's score received a screen credit, giving credence to the notion the song was a last-minute addition.
It sure felt
like
that.
The 5 Blobs turned out to be a phantom group that consisted of Bacharach, a bunch of musicians for hire, and Knee, who tracked his voice 5 times to achieve that Boris Karloff-esque quality, if that's what you want to call it.
I do not.
In a discussion with biologist Richard Dawkins, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson stated that among all Hollywood aliens, which are usually disappointing, the Blob was his favorite from a scientific perspective. Kind of makes sense. Because an amorphous, basically an amoeba, is one of the toughest forms of life there is. It would be able to survive interstellar travel.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we probably wouldn't be here. So, okay. Yeah, we'll come back to the Blob, yeah.
Now, there is a mistake made, which I ruined the movie for me, and I'm sure ruined it for you.
Which one? Ooh.
At about an hour into the movie, the teens go to a phone booth to call the police, but wait until one of them finds a dime. Calls from payphones to police were always free. All one had to do was lift up the hand and tell the operator. Movie ruined.
I thought it was a nickel back then, but whatever.
Yeah.
They would know. They're in the 50s. I wasn't.
In the doctor's office, after the Blob has consumed the old man, the doctor tells his nurse to dump some trichloroacetic acid on it. This is a very weak acid and is usually used to treat genital warts.
Well, it could have been a genital wart. I think, I read something that was the original shooting title of this film.
Yeah.
Beware the genital warts.
Now, originally the shooting title was The Glob. They changed it because they thought it sounded better. There's plenty more, but I think that's enough.
Genital
But
warts.
now we have to... Genital warts, ladies and gentlemen. But now we get to the plot.
Sure.
Welcome to Townsville,
Yeah.
Population
Some.
Home of the world's oldest teenagers, such as 28-year-old Stephen McQueen and 25-year-old Anita Corsout. Sure, the kids get a little rowdy now and then, but it's a nice place to live. At first.
Ooh.
Suddenly, out of the sky, a badly animated effect falls into the woods where the teens are necking or petting or whatever 50s 20-something teens do.
Ooh, my hip.
A very small, perfectly round meteorite is discovered by that master thespian, Olin Howard.
Yay.
Make me a sergeant, charge the booze. Who cracks it open to find a small mass of colorless protoplasm which promptly attaches itself to his arm, turns red, and begins to dissolve him. Bogus! Stephen McQueen's character, cleverly named Steve, and his best gal take the old man to Dr. Clark Kent and leave him. The doctor uses his advanced medical knowledge to get both himself and his nurse eaten by this blob. Steve conveniently sees the doctor get eaten, but none of the squares in this hick town will believe him, Daddy-O. So the blob is free to knock over things in a grocery store, eat a random auto mechanic, and, the greatest sin of all, sneak into a movie theater without paying. Oh, and it eats the projectionist and a bunch of other people. Whatever. Who will save us from this allegedly indestructible mass of death?
I know.
The town teens, of course. Let's hope none of them break a hip in the process.
The film.
Wow. Yeah. The Blob.
Have you ever seen this?
I think so at some point. It's one of those films that you remember a few certain parts, but I don't think you really dwell on the plot so much. I could be wrong. But
plot, yes.
But it's also one of those films that if you've ever had any interest in old science fiction films, that you've kind of seen by osmosis, like it was. I mean, we'll get to the plot, but it's not exactly new, shall we say?
They've made fun. I remember seeing it made fun of on the Electric Company, an old kids show on PBS.
And that shot of the Blob coming out of the movie theater is used so many times in other things. So I may not have, and just thought I did because it's like that. I think we can quickly go through the cast because there's only there's a bunch of people, but there's really not many people worth talking about. So
well, there's Steve McQueen, and like him, all I need's a fast machine.
Stephen McQueen, I gotta say, he is very Steve McQueen-y. Like he feels like he does in every other film, just older. Because
he has a lot more presence and more intensity than most of the other characters.
Yeah.
You also get the feeling he didn't really learn his lines. I just kept feeling there's a sequence where he and his girlfriend just stand and look at each other for a minute in the meat locker, and all I could think was line.
That's how this film could be better. Kristen Stewart could be in it.
Yep.
I mean, for one of these films, he's fine. I think he probably does outclass most of everybody else. It just, I don't...
Yeah.
I know he probably needed the work, but, like, taking the role of somebody 11 years younger than you when you're supposed to be a teenager...
That's a bit much.
I mean, yeah, he is obvious. The other problem with Steve McQueen is that he has a very high forehead, not because of hair loss, because his hairline would stay there for the rest of his career. It's just, it helps him look older. And something that we've noticed in general, people aged a lot differently then than they do now.
Yeah. And they do.
People in high school then often did look like they were already, I'm Bob Executive, which way to business. So, but he's so, I mean, he should have been a teacher in this film. He's not a teenager.
He should have. And then we got his girlfriend, Jane, Anita Corsav.
Sure.
By the way, did you recognize her?
No.
I know her from and I'm sure she's done a lot of stuff, but I know her from one thing. She was Helen Crump, Sheriff Taylor's girlfriend on the Andy Griffith Show.
Maybe she spent most of her time up to Mount Pilot, and that's why I didn't recognize her.
That may be it.
She's fine,
She's, hello, I'm teen girl. I'm going to scream and twist my ankle.
I love how the next actor, Earl Rowe's character, is just named Lieutenant Dave.
Yeah, it's sort of out of Forrest Gump. There's Lieutenant Dave. Yeah, he's got magic legs.
He's the cop with a heart, I guess. He's fine. Yeah.
He's fine.
But
he's,
the star of this film
almost believes the teen. Oh, yes.
The star of this film, without one word, I know he does talk eventually, but the star of this film is Olin Howard, who played Old Man.
Yep. Yep. He just brings the film to life with his classic lines of, get it off.
Yeah. That
Brilliant.
Just cemented the whole movie for me.
Yep.
Stephen Chase is Dr. T. Hallen, he was fine, I guess. Not the brightest doctor in the bunch, but whatever. The one that confused me, though, John Benson's character is named Sergeant Jim Burt. And they would refer to him as Burt or Jim, and I'm like, did somebody not rewrite the script right? Or which one's Jim? Oh, he's Jim, but I thought he was Burt. No, he is Burt. He's Jim Burt. Is that like hyphenated?
It was so cute the way they kept trying to give the cops personalities. Burt is not just supposed to be the one who hates kids. He's a war hero. His wife was killed by a teen drunk driver.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't matter, except he's grumpy all the time. And then there's Officer Richie, played by George Karras, who plays chess over the radio, and that is all we know about him.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch. I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of other people. It's fine.
There's a lot. They doesn't matter.
My favorite, though, of course, is Pamela Curran as smooching teenager.
Of course. Yeah, she kind of really.
Dang you, smoochers!
Get off my property.
That's a deeper. Not deep enough, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's a typical 50s horror movie cast, science fiction film. I guess this is science fiction. I suppose it's more horror than science fiction, although horror. So they're fine. Film starts off, the usual producer credits. Tony Lynn. That's the name of the production company that made this. That's a name that will live forever. But
I actually saw in the trivia that's actually the name of, I think, the producer's two kids.
Of course it is.
Tony and Lynn. Yep.
But the next credit is introducing the teenagers, to which I had to ask, what teenagers?
I don't know if maybe they were trying to make it into a series.
Well, they did that there is that teenagers series that the Riff Tracks does, but they're not teenagers.
Yeah, that was either. Much older.
So are they.
Yes.
So we do start off with the little hit song. How did you feel the little hit song prepared you for the rest of the film?
Like I was watching the wrong movie. I mean, it's so bouncy and sitcom-y.
Yeah.
It doesn't, if it's supposed to be scary, it didn't work.
I don't think it was. I just don't understand the choice of putting this.
Yeah.
It's a novelty song, right? That's what it is. And the 50s had lots of novelty songs. So they put a novelty song at the beginning of the film. Maybe they thought, hey, we'll do a bouncy, upbeat song and get our monies back on that because we're not going to make our money back in the film, which, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the baseball hits the ground. And to be fair, I guess it's a protective shell. I guess that kind of makes sense, right?
I suppose. I still like it goes crashing down and Steve looks up and goes, boy, that was close. Let's go toward it.
Well, and he's like trying to make out with, what Helen Crump
Jane,
there. And she's not having it, which good for her. And to be fair, they don't. Steve's character, Steve, I think he's suffering from early onset Tony Danza syndrome. I actually don't know if Tony Danza ever played a character that wasn't named Tony.
I think he played a guy named Anthony once.
Oh, sure. So he's trying to make out and she don't wanna, and so they decide to go do this. And then she suddenly gets disappointed, like, oh, we're not going to finish our date. We're going to go off and look for this baseball. But what now, did the stuff inside, before it actually attaches onto poor Olin Howland's hand, did that clear protoplasmic blob remind you of anything? Would have been very popular in the 60s.
I had a really bad allergy attack once, and I blew my nose a little too hard, I guess.
It reminded me of this stuff called Dippity Doo. Do you remember Dippity Doo?
Oh, God, the hair care product?
Well, care.
Dippity Doo.
And so it popped out. And
Lord.
all I could think of was, old man, Dippity don't.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wow. The meteor has a chewy nougat center.
Well,
and then it's like, quick, old man, run off camera so we can't actually see what it's doing to you.
yeah.
My other note was, oh, Olin, do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.
Some parts may be made of chicken. Well, and then the kids, like, they know that so Steve and Helen Crump, I don't remember, I don't care. Find the old man, and they take him to old Doc, what's his name? And old Doc is about to go on vacation for no particular reason. We have this little extra plot of him, I'm going to go out of town, which I guess is tension.
He's going to a medical convention.
Oh, right. In
wink.
Yeah,
with
sure.
the Water Buffalo Lodge.
With his friends, the boys.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. So they bring him in, and of course, old Doc, whatever.
Severinsen.
Sure. Hallen, apparently. It doesn't know what to do, because why would you? But the duo, the dynamic duo of Steve and Helen, I know her name's not Helen, go back to try and find this thing, because they figure it must be the meteorite, and they gather their friends with them, and I'm going to come back to the teenagers.
Come on, teen gang.
And the first thing there's like, hey, I think this is from outer space. Let's touch it. Like,
yeah, they're all passing it around.
Wow.
Now, admittedly, this is 1958. They didn't know much about radiation, but
still, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's also this other little plot that we have to deal with, where Steve and Helen are in their car, and these teenagers show up, which at first we're not sure who they are, because they seem to be drag racing rivals.
Antagonists.
Yeah. And so they make Steve get into this drag race, and boy, does it drag. That whole scene just goes on and on and on. And
it turns out that they're actually like pals.
But you can tell by the look on the actors' faces that when they shot the drag race scene, they were reading a different draft than they were at the end, because they're just as confused about being friends as we are. So, suddenly, instead of like, they're going to, because it looks like they're going to rough him up or his car. And then, Officer Dave or Lieutenant Dave shows up and, hey, kids, don't you think you ought to slow down? I can't tell you to put your seatbelts on because we don't have them yet. But it's just these weird little side plots that popped up, and then everyone's a pal and they go off to the old man's cabin, because what better things are there to do? Although the kids, the teenagers, want to split off because there's an all-night horror movie fest at the theater, which is
and
packed.
They want to go and find random girls who went there by themselves, apparently.
Oh, you dog.
And they do. They find them.
Yeah. But
Yep. That's right. And, of course, one of them is named Mooch, because sure he is.
Yeah. And so the policeman shows up, Lieutenant Dave shows up, and, he obviously interrupts a drag race, which is happening in reverse, because whatever. And he has this quote. This goes back to the whole teenager thing. Yeah, what am I going to do with you kids? What kids? There's no kids here. They all have, like, wives and kids by themselves by now.
Dang you, Duke boys.
Yeah. It was.
I also want to talk about one of the understated and really, unsung acting heroes of this movie, Keith Almany.
Oh?
As Danny.
Oh, my God.
The little brother of Jane.
It was so terrible.
Oh, Lord. We know, even in the 50s, they had some competent child actors. You just have to look at The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
Or Shane, or anything with Billy Mooney or
even Invaders from Mars. Howard. Sure, he was a much better kid.
This kid is so bad.
I honestly expected his last name to end with Yayworth. Like, is he son of the director or something? He was. The only thing he didn't do was look straight into the camera. But otherwise, man, I have rarely seen such a lousy kid actor.
Yep.
But, you know, part of it's not all of their fault because almost the entire film was overdubbed, and the overdub is really bad. Ooh,
it's very, very bad.
There's a lot of it done when the actors aren't facing the camera, or they're slightly off screen, and you can hear them just fine, and it's just, it's bad.
It's also, you notice how much happens off screen?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, look, it's on fire. What? No, it isn't. I don't see any... Oh, look, it killed these people. What people?
You know, I was kind of confused about that, so I went looking through the credits. I sat through the credits to make sure the name Coleman Francis didn't show up as a technical advisor, because he was the king of when people are talking, they're facing away or they're off screen, because that costs money. So, yeah, I don't know. There was at least a quote in here, one or two quotes in here that I really liked, and one of them I already gave you. What am I going to do with these kids? But one of my favorites was, that doesn't sound like a house. That sounds like a dog.
yeah, that's an odd one.
What the hell? What is a house? Wait, do you hear that? I think it's a house. No, it's a dog. Okay, yeah.
I still like how the kids, the big savior moment is the kids want to warn everybody, so they're all honking their horns and hitting the air raid sirens and yelling to get everyone outside to then tell them to go home and stay there. What?
Yeah, but with that whole little subplot there, we do get to check off a box on our giant monster movie bingo card, and that is the no one believes the teenagers box.
No, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say this, at least Steve's parents, and you expect like, oh, he's kind of the wild kid, they must be like, oh, I'm at my wit's end with him. His dad goes, well, he doesn't lie. I mean, he does other stuff, but he's not a liar. And he supports him.
Oh, his granddad, you mean?
Yes, yeah. His granddad, who he obviously is helping walk out of the police station.
Yeah. There's a couple of technical issues here, too. You already talked about the special effects of the meteor falling or having been drawn onto the film. Yeah. Occasionally, the film just goes out of focus. Like, whoever the focus puller was...
blurry.
It's like you're doing close-ups and stuff, and it's like, that's not soft focus. That's lack of technical skill, which, you know...
The thing that gets me is when everyone is running out of the theater in blind panic from the Blob...
Some of them
many of them are very visibly laughing or smiling.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious.
You notice that too, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably, since this was shot in this small town in Pennsylvania, I'm sure they just were like, hey, everyone want to be a movie? I need you to do this. And maybe they got a free movie ticket. Who knows?
And to be fair, this is not the only movie that happens. And there's a lot of movies, especially like Japanese monster movies where you have people running and you can tell they're laughing.
Yeah. I do have to ask you about this because this is part of our giant monster film series. What do you think of the Blob as a monster? I don't mean technically special effects, that kind of thing. Just the idea of the Blob as a monster.
Honestly, I think it's pretty scary. The idea is the way it was executed, because it makes a certain amount of sense. It's a mindless eating force. It doesn't have any real agenda. It's just killing people, and it can get almost anywhere.
Yeah.
That's really disturbing. And it's it has one terrible weakness, fire extinguishers. But it can apparently take just about anything else. Intense electricity, fire, bullets, that's not exactly a surprise. Genital wart-curing acid, nothing will stop the Blob.
Yeah, maybe a little Desinex would have taken it down. I don't know.
Yeah. I do have to point this out. I looked this up because we see this in a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows where people are using CO2 fire extinguishers and they claim to be cold, that it's the cold that stops it. It's not that the CO2 is cutting off the oxygen. It is cold.
Yeah.
When the gas is released, it's at minus 78 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
It just warms up really fast. It doesn't warm up fast enough to ignite.
It works like a powder. Get it?
Powder.
It was them.
It was them.
That's a deeper. Yeah, I agree. I think the monster actually does work pretty well because most of the things that they would try to do in other monster films won't work. Like making loud mating calls like they do in Beginning of the End for the giant grasshoppers. Or to talk to it or to lead it like off with some sort of bait. It's like they're like, I got nothing. What do you got?
Even the police point out if you drop a big bomb on it, it'll just spread it all over the country.
Yeah. So of course what they did was
good point.
They take it, they get it in a net and they fly it to the Arctic, where, of course, it will never melt and everybody's going to be fine. And, global warming.
Yes. There's a very interesting foreshadowing line at the end. It's one of the last lines where Steve says, as long as the Arctic stays cold.
Which...
Wow. So apparently this movie was woke.
I guess.
It was all full of libtards.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say...
Climate change is a myth.
I will say the Blob, which I actually think for the most part, all things considered, was fairly well done, too, visually.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what it is. We know it's... I did not expect that it was still in a semi-liquid form after 70
it's still
years.
gelatinous state. Yep.
But all things considered, we can tell that this film is sped up a bit. I didn't know that it was done in reverse, but, it's pretty cool. The thing about the Blob is that it, in a lot of cases, moves faster than the plot does.
Yeah. Things don't happen at a terribly rapid pace here.
No.
And also, now I don't know if this is good or bad. We can talk about that. You don't see the Blob very often.
No, and I think that's fine because they also knew that it was, some petroleum product or whatever. So it was the physical living embodiment of Union Carbide. Maybe it was their mascot.
Yeah, it should have been.
Well, and here's something I'm sure popped up in trivia that you just let go, which is fine. You talked about how they re-released this in the 70s. Well, in 1988, they made a remake of it with not Matt Dillon, but Kevin Dillon, because when you can't get Matt, you can get his little brother Kevin. And it had a great tagline. This is from 88, and it was TriStar, which I kind of do miss. But I do miss taglines, because taglines were supposed to be there to instill the feeling of the film and make you want to go see it in space. Nobody can hear you scream, things like that. This one was... Terror has no shape.
What?
Terror has no shape.
Okay. Not exactly. It's not exactly in space. No one can hear you scream.
I mean, I think I liked your By Menin better. By Menin. But it's not bad. I watched the preview because it's easily available on IMDb. And this one is obviously playing to the crowd that would see the remake of The Fly, which is right around the same time. So there's scenes of the Blob literally pulling people down through the drain of a kitchen sink. It's much gorier, lots more screaming and pointing and that sort of thing. But yeah, apparently they decided it was ripe only 30 years later to make a remake of it. Had you ever heard of it yourself before doing this show?
The remake?
Yeah.
The remake or the original? Yeah, I had. I remember seeing the previews.
With Kevin Dillon.
Yeah, I think there was some, at the time, sex symbol in the movie who I paid more attention to.
Oh, I don't remember who else is in it, but whatever. So, yeah.
No one does. Yeah. But at the time, I do remember the preview and just thinking, really? You want to remake that?
I mean,
okay.
But to be fair, the remake of The Fly was really good.
Yes, because they got David friggin' Cronenberg to do it.
Yeah, but it also just was... It was the same story, but it was retold in a much cooler way. And also, to be fair, we talked about this on one of our episodes. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which itself was a really good film, really was updated. I don't want to say it trounced the original, but the way it was updated was scary for that time in the 70s.
It updated very well. They made all the right changes.
So I can understand. It's like, the old Fly, which nobody's doing anything with. Why don't we remake the Blob? Yeah, and we'll get today's Steve McQueen, Kevin Dillon. I'm being mean. He's probably a very nice man and a very accomplished actor. But you got anything else, Max?
There is one little moment I kind of like. Jane's father is the principal of the school. They're going to the school to get more fire extinguishers. He can't open the door, so he goes, picks up a rock, looks at it, looks at the window for just a second, must conquer principal's instinct and break door. and then smashes the glass to get in. But I just kind of like that he's like, I'm always talking to them about vandalism, and I'm about to vandalize the school. Just little tiny thing, but I liked it.
I think you actually found the one bit of character development in the entire film.
I think so.
Oops, that leads us to that part where we actually decide if we liked the Blob or not.
The finish.
So, Max.
Yes?
Had you seen the Blob before?
Never. I'd never seen the whole movie. I'd seen a couple of scenes. I mean, it came from Hollywood, uses that, don't go in there, Jim, it's the most horrible thing I've ever seen moment.
Yeah, and I think they also had that shot of them all running out of the theater, too.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen the Blob oozing out the doors. But that was it. I'd never seen the whole movie.
So what did you think of The Blob with Stephen McQueen?
It's very slow. And the idea of the Blob, like we said, is actually a scary idea. And visually, for the time, I think they did an okay job with it. But overall, there's too much time with the teens. And they're not very interesting. There's no development of the character. There's no development of relationships. The comic relief, such as it is, isn't. I can see how it inspired a lot of other movies. But in and of itself, I don't think it holds up. What about you?
So my two major notes on the film are, every time something's about to happen, someone shows up to divert the plot and action. Like, it literally, it's like, oh, we're going to get in trouble here. No, we're not. Oh, well, I think the Blob's going to do that. No, it didn't do that. It's not here anymore. It left. It's like, what the hell?
All right, we're ready. We're going to charge into the grocery store. It's not in the grocery store. Okay.
And we have mixed in, again, I think the Blob itself was fairly well done. It's just there's some parts, like there's at the end, there's an animated electrical line and sparks and stuff that's really badly done. And they overpaint a photo of the diner, and it's really badly done. But also, it feels like we're watching a film made up entirely of deleted scenes. None of them is particularly interesting, and you could totally see why any of them was cut out. Have you ever watched, like, on the special parts of a DVD or a Blu-ray where it's like, oh, these scenes were deleted?
Yeah.
And half the time you're like, okay, yeah, I see why they cut this out. Like, Star Wars is notorious for cutting out an entire character. Biggs Darklighter is just, he dies. He shows up at the end, but we don't know why the theme gets all sad and everyone's sort of like, freeze framing on their faces because we don't know who he is. But if you watch the deleted scenes of Biggs, they pulled them out because they're boring. It's like, this slows the film down. Good. So that's what every scene in this film feels like, except when the Blob attacks. It's like every other scene is like a deleted scene, and they just like, that's the B-roll, and they cut that together, and they lost the A-roll in a fire. I don't know. And, you know,
a lot of the scenes just don't hang together. We talked about the relationship between the teenagers. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Teenagers, between the guys at the Elks Lodge, I don't know. The ones in the beginning, oh, look, they're rivals. They're bad. No, they're best pals. They're going to help each other out. Okay, sure. What?
Well, I swear even one of them says, hey, don't you know who that is? And it's like...
That's the thing. It's like, at first they don't know who he is, and then it's like, oh, sure, it's Steve.
My best friend.
Steve. Yeah.
Well, maybe because when he gets closer, they're like, oh, hey, Dad. I mean, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I can't stay angry at those blue eyes.
It's just not good. And, you know...
No, it's not.
Most science fiction films from the 50s, or horror films, whatever, aren't good. But occasionally there's some standouts that are actually still pretty cool. And I don't know why the Criterion Collection picked this one. But, yeah.
I'm assuming it's because Steve McQueen's in it. I assume also that's why one of the reasons it was so popular. He was starting to take off.
I guess. He didn't take off before he made this.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to...
I think he'd done Magnificent Seven already. Wasn't it 57?
No, I don't. I thought it was 60. I think it's 60 or 61 is Magnificent Seven. But I don't think he was Steve McQueen yet, because he's still Stephen McQueen. So,
true.
But I'm going to say, at least for my part, don't bother. It's really not very good. It's not very exciting. Usually in this case, it's the monster itself that is poorly done, and you at least get to laugh at the monster. Yeah. But the monster is actually pretty competent. It's the rest of the film that's kind of lets you down. Are you going to give it a sort of a no vote too? Yeah,
I got to say, unless you're a real completist and you just like have to see every one of the famous classic monster movies.
Yeah.
Honestly, the way they handle the Blob in the DreamWorks animated movie Monsters vs. Aliens, I think is better.
Okay.
Because there he's Bob, not Blob.
Studio Bob?
It's Studio Bob. And
That's a callback.
I think it works better.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what else works better is when you tell us what the poll question is and how people can answer it.
I would, but I'm being dissolved by our
You
guest.
forgot it already, huh?
Ow, ow, ow. Stop eating me. Ow, ow.
Scroll.
Acting! No, I remember it's, what is your favorite monster or monster movie related song?
Ooh.
Could be The Blob, could be Monster Mash, could be Save the Earth,
Monster
or
Mash isn't from
Attack
a
of the
movie.
Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, God. Probably the only decent thing about that movie.
Yep, but yeah, doesn't have to be from a movie, just a monster related. And you can answer this question here on The Muppet Show. Yeah! You can go to our website, maxmikemovies.com, and leave a comment. You can email us directionally at us@maxmikemovies.com, where you can also, put in suggestions, movies you'd like to see, series you'd like to see, Mike that you would like to see less of.
Or Max,
All
who can
those
be
sort of
replaced by a box of Bumpy Buck cereal.
Try new raisin Bumpy Pucks.
Those aren't
Don't look too close at
raisins.
the raisins.
Those are not raisins.
No.
And there is no reason to try it. Okay. How else can they get in touch with us, man?
Now you're fired. Yes, well, of course, you can find us on various medium socials, such as the Boxfush,
Facebook.
whatever, Mastodon, and
Mastodon.
Bluesky.
Yeah, you got that one right.
All under Max Mike Movies.
And
And of course, we're available on many, many podcast apps. And if there is a podcast app that does not have us, destroy it.
well, no, just wait a week, we'll show up.
Yeah.
And
Or wait, whichever's easier.
And? The hotline.
Oh, yes, you, of course. You can call our hotline.
Scroll.
The number of which I have, of course.
617-398-7266 is our hotline number that Max is scrolling for. That is 617-398-7266.
Hang on. I'm just accessing my memory. Page up.
Talk about
page
random
up.
access. Cripes. It's amazing we get through the show.
But we are actually taking a bit of a left turn in this series.
We are?
Although technically, we have two movies. Yes, even though we have two movies left in it. You know what time of year it is, Mike? It's summertime. Summertime.
I thought it was dinner time. Dinner time. Supper time. That's it. Supper time. Supper time. Well, it is.
It's only if you're a beagle, and it is.
It is.
So, you know what happens during the summer?
Painful rectal itch.
Yes.
Genital warts.
And yes. And while you're looking for whatever the hell that acid was called, the other thing that happens is the big hydropenal acid. Yes. Oh, God, yes. Max Mike Movies, a class act all the way.
I think we got kept back a couple grades.
I think we did.
No, it's blockbuster time. That's what you're trying to get me to
Yes.
say. It's blockbuster time.
Big old tentpole movies.
That's
We
right.
got them, and we know that you want to see them, and we're going to, what we're going to do as a public service? We're going to go see them for you.
That's right. We'll buy your
So
tickets
you don't
for
have to.
No, probably not.
Yes. No, wait.
And the series is this is going to interrupt our series as the summer goes along and these films come out. One of them, to be fair, the first one we're going to do is already out and has been out for, I think, a week or two, but that's all right.
Unlike its star.
Unlike it, yeah, well, we'll come back to that. So these little interspersed specials will be called Summer Blockbuster and Summer Not. And the first one we're going to go after is actually the follow-up to a previous episode that we did about 30 some odd episodes ago. And that was part one of what's supposed to be, and I'm going to hold them to it, the final Mission Impossible films. And that was Mission Impossible Dark Secret of the Underpants Part 1.
I think it was the Crimes of Grindelwald or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Socks of
Yes,
Grindel.
and this one, of course,
is
this one is Mission Impossible Final Countdown.
Yeah.
It's the final countdown.
I hate that song, and I hope it's not in any way associated with this film. But, so next week, instead of a giant monster, we're going to see a giant monster of a film, Mission Impossible Final Countdown. So join us, and we'll be
It's actually
joined.
Final Reckoning.
Oh,
I was kidding.
So don't join us next week for Final Countdown, Final Reckoning, me and Max, and a pony named Boo.
I hope Tom Cruise runs in it. I hope.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.